Welcome to this great adventure of two sisters.
Absolutely not. Hey guys, welcome to the Regina Kids podcast. I am your host, Maxi.
With her lovely younger sister, Rita the Ham.
And here on the podcast, as you can see, sibling relationships can be loving and sometimes a bit
dramatic.
Affect me, please. Complicated. So, join us every week as we explore all aspects of having a sibling.
Come be our sibling.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome back. Hello, sister. Well, welcome everyone here to Regina's Kids podcast, episode 6. I'm your host, Rita, with my lovely sibling.
And I am Maxi. Hey guys.
How are you doing today? How you doing? Am I when you play your voice?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Love and light. Is that what the people say? Love and light.
Love and light. Feeling so fluffy today.
No, I didn't say that.
I
Love
said
and light.
that. So I'm very, very excited because today we get to poke Maxi, the authorist brain, about her books. So as you see in the title, it's called Books, Books, and Books. So let's just dive right in. So Maxi, before we get into your books, I want people to get to know you better.
Okay. Here we go.
Name 3 of your favorite authors.
3 of my favorite authors. Maya Angelou, Eric Jerome Dickey, and it's kind of a toss-up because I used to read a lot of hood books.
Mm-hmm. Those are my favorites.
And I like a lot of poetry. So, at number 3, we're gonna put Langston Hughes and Ashley Antoinette.
Some heavy hitters there.
Hey, you asked and I delivered.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I used to she's an avid book reader, but she used to tell me about like how the books were going. So when she was deep in one of those books, especially that had like a series, I would call her to get the tea about the book. Is what I did. So well, let's just dive right in because we got to go. We have a lot of information to get from you about both of your books. So let's start off with your very first book, which is All My Broken Crayons, still color, available on Amazon. Or you can hit her in her DM direct to get a very beautiful signed copy. So in that book, you have 40 affirmations and then a journal in the back.
Correct.
So why did you decide to do it that way with the journal in the back?
Well, just to go back a little further, I never intended on being an author in the first place. Like that wasn't like something on my wish list or like my goal list of something to do.
But if your friends, no one is surprised.
Maybe. I am a doodler by trade. You know, anytime I just get a piece of paper and just start doodling, but I was never a writer, so to speak. Like, I love to read. I love poetry, like I said before.
Hmm.
I loved all kinds of books. Back in the day, I used to love just reading the encyclopedias and stuff like that. But I wasn't never a big word person or like a big speller, like, a spelling bee queen or anything like that. So writing was never like, to be an author was never at the top of my list of
Author.
things to do.
Mhm.
She just likes saying authoress,
I really
whatever.
do.
um, the first book came about because, like I stated before, when my father passed away, it was tons of drama surrounding that whole situation.
Definitely.
Um, we went through a thing where he lived like 4 hours away from us. So when I got the initial call that he passed away, him and my grandmother lived in the same house. And with that, my relationship with my grandmother had always been up and down and around and around. We never really had that great of a relationship.
Mhm.
And I do write about her in my second book, and we'll get to
We'll
that.
get to that.
But
But what?
uh,
But the main thing is the affirmations and the journal. So, what inspired you to do the affirmations and then also put the journal in the back of the book?
I'm getting to that, Rita. You're just rushing
I'm not trying to rush it.
it. um, so after dealing with the passing of my father and all the drama surrounding that, which is also written in the second book. And when we get to the second book, I'll explain that more. But I felt like, I know, like, for a lot of people, dealing with death and trying to grieve and all of that stuff is very difficult. But just like losing friends and family members is hard, and the people that's close to you. But it's a different type of feeling, like an unexplainable feeling when you lose a parent.
Right.
And I'm not um against therapy or anything like that, but I'm learning now, after 5 6 years of him being gone, that like a lot of things that we experience in life that people brush off because they didn't know the name of it, especially dealing with like mental health and stuff like that, um was never addressed while I was growing up. you know I recently just learned what it felt like to have an anxiety attack, or to feel depressed and stuff like that. Because with us growing up, my mama favorite thing was, suck that shit up and get over it. Like,
Keep it moving.
right, you don't cry over nothing. Like, if you have feelings or whatever, you be sad for one day and you suck that up and get over it. So
Right.
um when dad passed, that's kind of what I did. I was going through a lot. I was in the process of moving and working two jobs, and none of my apartments were ready. And it was a big thing. So when I actually got moved, um, again, I work in corporate America. And at one point in time at my job, we were able to watch TV at work. Um, the job that I currently do, I'm able to, you know, go in and do my job. I don't talk on the phone or do any kind of customer service, but I always been good at multitasking, so I was able to watch TV at work. But other people maybe not so great at multitasking, and they were more, into their TV than their jobs. So they banned us from watching TV. So we only had to watch. I mean, we were only able to like listen to music, or, listen to the TV shows without watching them. Or for me, it was like listening to during that time, it was really, really rough for me. So I was like trying to listen to people that had positive messages, TD Jakes, motivational speaker, Eric, the hip hop preacher, Eric Thomas, Tony Gaskins. I listened to a lot of interviews that Oprah did with different people and stuff like that. So I listened to Joyce Myers and a lot of different pastors and stuff. And when I would hear something or like a word would resonate with me, that's the way. I kind of feel like at the well, I know now that I was kind of going through a depression and I was having really bad anxiety. But then 6 years ago, I didn't really know what that was. I didn't know how that felt. I just felt like I was kind of losing my mind. So I
Right.
took to writing down things that made me feel good. Um, Later, learning that those are called affirmations, writing down affirmations that made me feel good, and then I would repeat them, learning that once you started repeating them over and over, it was kind of like a mantra.
Mm.
So in the midst of that, going through that process and trying to grieve my father and mourn him, and kind of I was really angry at that point in time, and I was trying to talk myself up out of that. I had notebooks and sticky notes everywhere, just filled and filled and filled, full of affirmations and mantras that I would repeat on a daily basis. So I never intended on actually putting those out there into the world for anybody else. It was really just for me to kind of get over it. And also during that time, I had I had previously worked a job, and the job that I was working when my dad passed, it was horrible. Like it was so stressful that I found myself having to cry and pray myself out the bed to get up and be able to go to work, to sit there and be miserable. So after I had that job, I was like, you know what? I've been working in corporate America for 20 years. Um, I had did various jobs, mostly custom. I had jobs in customer service. I did a lot of jobs in in the financial realm, and being an executive assistant and being an administrative assistant. So I was like, I spend all of this time um, building up these Fortune 500 companies. I'm gonna start my own company. So I wanted to start my own company where I could assist small businesses with administrative things like that. So I was in the process of trying to create that, as well as get over the depression and the anxiety by writing. And when I turned around and looked, I had all these pages of affirmations, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll just form it into a book. I had never even considered being an author, but I end up um, forming all the affirmations into a book. And when I actually finished the book, um, I started praying about what I'm supposed to do with the book.
Mm-hmm.
And um, that's where it popped into my head to create a journal in the back of the book. So it was just like, you'll have an affirmation, you have a mantra you can repeat, you'll have some inspirational thoughts from me in regards to the affirmation and the mantra. And then once you finish the book, there is like 50 journal pages. So, just to jot down your own, because I was big with journaling. So I felt like that was a thing for me. So on my 40th birthday, I felt like that would be a gift to myself to self-publish my first book. So that was my
Process
baby.
in doing the self publishing.
What's the question?
How is the process of doing the self publishing?
The process with doing the self-publishing was, I never set out to do self-publishing at first. I actually finished the book and started doing the process of looking for a publisher. But
Mhm.
in my search for looking for a publisher, I found that it's quite expensive.
Right.
So
That um, self-publishing may be an easier route for me, and I honestly started Googling how to self-publish, and then I came across a class that I paid for to birth your first book. And actually, the process, once you have your book written and you find you a good editor and you learn how to create your cover, the actual process to self-publish is pretty easy after that.
Mhm.
So
Okay. How important do you think that the journal in the back of the book is, for anyone who actually, gets the book?
um I'm kind of 50-50 with it right now. When I first put the book out, I was like, everybody needs to journal, but I realized that everybody doesn't journal. So that in turn made me turn the affirmation book into an ebook that is also available on Amazon. So my first book, you can get a paperback copy, and or you could get the actual ebook where if you just like affirmations and want to see mantras, I mean, want to repeat mantras and have the motivational quote at the end, you don't have to journal. So I think that the journal is a good way. Like at most events or anything, when I talk about the book, I especially talk to like adults that need affirmations, but I also um speak in terms of like if you do have like a teenager or someone, a child that's in middle school, like the book is written in such a way that it's easy to read. It's really for everyone, it's not just for adults. But if you want to keep that line of communication open with you and your child, it's a way that y'all can read you, there's things in there to uplift them and let them know that they're enough and all of that. So that with the journal, it's one of those things where um you can keep that line of communication open with you and your child. Like they could write their feelings down to you, you'll be able to read it, and y'all can kind of have a back and forth dialogue. Because I know for me, growing up, I used to have a diary. Like a lot of kids, I mean, I don't think kids now have diaries like that, but um I I love to journal and just write my thoughts
I,
down and the creative things that I wanted to do. And I had begged my mom one Christmas for this diary. It was a diary with different color pages, and it
and
had
the
a
page failed.
lock on it, and the pages, every other page smelled different. Like it was a beautiful book until my lovely sibling over there got a hold of it and messed it up. But that's neither here nor there.
I thought the perfume pages. I used to rub them, and I want to smell like the. Okay, that's the story for another day. Um, but no, that like all of this information, I know. I just want everybody else to experience it and understand that whole process. So like with writing a book, each author has their own way of doing it. Is there any type of certain steps or process that you go through with writing your books?
So, again, I never thought I would be an author. So with that,
Say compared to from doing your first book to your second book.
what do you mean? I didn't hear the question.
Because you like there are certain steps that you do when it comes to writing a book. Some people just use a computer, other people may, you said that you did notes. So when you start to prepare yourself to do your second book, how was that process? Like, did you just use your computer only? Did you still use all the sticky notes all
I
over the place?
I clearly the process is the same for me with the first book and the second book. I clearly still handwrite my books out. So I still have the same, I have two notebooks, one that has the first book and one that has the second book. I write out the whole book by hand. And then I go through the process of after I scribble all the first book out, after I scribble the book out by hand, I reread it and then I rewrite it neatly in the same book and then I type it up. So that's just the process for me. So maybe um I don't know, other authors may have different processes. That was just the process for me because I feel like I have to get all of my thoughts, all of my feelings, all of the everything I want to say out, and everything don't always make it. So when I rewrite it the second time neatly to be typed up, then that's where I correct the spelling and take out words or try to format it in a way that I want it to look once I type it up.
Oh, that's dope. So that was my segue into the second book.
Well, before we go into the second book, this right here is the first book. So both of my books are available on Amazon. This is the first one, All My Broken Crayons, Still Color. It's a daily affirmation book for healing of the soul. Again, I wrote this book um, to help me start my process of healing from being so angry after my father died. I also wrote this book because I feel like affirmations are something that anybody can use to make them feel better. The book is in full color, even the journal pages, which I'll show. Let's see. Even the journal pages are full color. And the dedication in my first book is this book is dedicated to anyone that ever felt alone in a world full of people. This book is for us. So that's my first book. All My Broken Crayons, Still Color, available on Amazon.
Or you can also DM her so that you can get a sign.
So it's All My Broken Crayons, Still Color, Daily Affirmations for Healing the Soul by Maxi, MAXIE, Maxi space E dot Norman, NORMAN. And to DM me, you can find me on Facebook at Maxi Norman or Instagram under my business name, which is Elnor Maxwell LLC, which is ELNORAMAXWELL on Instagram. So
You want to also give them the email for Eleanor Maxwell because they might want to just email you.
they can email Regina Kids Podcast for information about a signed copy, or info@ELNORAMAXWELL.com. So info@elnormaxwell.com.
All righty. So now we have your second publication. And how far in between your first publication did you start writing your second book?
So my first book came out in, when did this book come out? It made a year in 21. So my first book came out March 20th of 2020. My second book came out February 22nd of 2022. So probably a year, year and a half, 2 years, somewhere like that.
Okay.
Um,
So with that, what was what started you in the process of writing your second book? What was your inspiration? What was your thought process? What made you come up with even because you said before that you didn't even think about being an author. So what made you gave you the inspiration to write the second book?
I wasn't in the process of writing a book. Like I know plenty of people who self-publish their first books, and then the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth book pops out. Again, it was never my intention to be an author, so I wasn't in the process of writing my second book. My second book, which is called Love You More, Grieving Isn't Easy and Healing Hurts. It's about the 5 stages of grief and about starting your process of healing from grief.
Right.
So, um, there really wasn't a clear process to writing the second book. Um, so, my second book is about 6 people
Hmm.
that I lost in a time frame of 5 years.
Right.
So, um, in December of 2021, I lost one of my best friends of 25 years on my dad's birthday. And um, this person meant pretty much everything to me. And when that happened, and it's one of those things where you don't like, no matter how much you care about people, no matter how much people affect you in your life, when you go through different things and it just seems like you're able to just get over them quickly and keep it moving, you never know how somebody suddenly passing away will affect you.
Right.
And when he passed away on my dad's birthday, it affected me in a terrible way. Like, I felt pretty much like my whole heart broke in that instant. So, um, in the process of going through depression, anxiety, crying, praying, um, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. Like I was really, it was really a horrible time for me. And during that time, um, I was completely broken down to where I couldn't do anything but cry and pray. So, in the midst of me crying and praying, this book started to pour out of me. And it was actually written in 2 weeks. So, the
Yeah.
way that the book is set up is that for each person, there's a stage of grief. That the in the first 5 people in the book, I talk about every single stage. I talk about one stage for each person. So I go through all 5 stages of grief, and then for my friend that I lost of 25 years at the end of the book, I talk about healing and I talk about love. So that's the way the book is set up. So the book is set up. There is one stage of grief. There is a um, like previous stated in an earlier podcast, I have a favorite scripture from the Bible out of Proverbs.
Hmm.
So the way the book is set up, there is a stage of grief, and I explain the stage of grief and what that stage is, and then there is a scripture from Proverbs that's kind of in relation to that stage of grief, and then there's a story about the person that passed. So in this book, there is a chapter on one of my cousins there's a chapter on my cousin that passed, then one of my friends that passed, um, another cousin. There's a story about my grandmother. There's the full story about everything I went through when my dad passed, and then there's a story at the end about my friend. And once you read each story, at the end of the story, there's also a picture of the person, so you'll also get to basically meet the person that I wrote about in the book. So, the book actually is written to help anyone with grief. And through the stories of my life, I explain the 5 stages of grief and I tell you what I went through trying to process my grief. And the story is about basically when losing someone you love, you don't know which stage you will experience. It could be one, it could be all. In this
Mhm.
book, you get to meet the 6 people in my life that passed away and what happened to them while I was trying to process the grief. Because when I lost my friend of 25 years, it on my father's birthday, at that, it dawned on me that since my father passed away, every year I lost a person. And some years I lost multiple people. And it was just like I never was able to sit down and really process all of it. I was really just going through the motions like a lot of people do. You know, people pass away and then people go back to their regular scheduled program. And um like most people, you lose somebody and you be sad and you go to the funeral and then you go back to your regular scheduled program. But for me, after losing him, somebody that had been in my life since I was 15 years old, um, I didn't have a regular scheduled program. Now it was just like I had to write about it. I had to get it all out in order for me to really start my process and my journey of healing and just glowing through whatever I was going through. So, um, yeah.
Let's talk about that that phrase that you always say, glowing through whatever it is that you're going through. What does that really mean to you?
Um, it basically means that a lot of times, we make shit look good on the outside.
Hmm.
We keep our hair done, everything lit on the outside, hair done, nails done, everything did. We keep everything glowing, and on the inside, we are dealing with depression, anxiety, other mental health issues. You're stressed out about work, stressed out about family, stressed out about your kids, your significant other, just everyday stresses. So it's like you're continuously trying to glow through everything that you're going through. You're trying to keep a positive head. You're trying to choose happiness. You're trying to make sure that you can be okay. Some of us have people that are dependent on us being okay.
Right.
Like if we're not okay, then the people around us aren't okay. I realized in writing this book that I was glowing through everything I was going through, but that just wasn't enough. I had to make sure that the way that I feel on the outside really is representative of how I was feeling
On the
on
inside.
the inside.
Hmm.
So
So with the second book, which is also available on Amazon, now did you do the same steps with that one? As far as I know, that you have a paperback, you have also the hard copy. Listen, that hard copy hit different. Do you also plan on making that one an ebook as well?
it is an ebook. So you can get an ebook, a paperback, or a hard copy of the second book. So it's
Well,
already an ebook.
so let's go ahead and show them the second book.
So this is the second book, Love You More, Grieving Isn't Easy and Healing Hurts by Maxi E. Norman. It is available on Amazon as a Kindle book, an ebook, a paperback book. This is actually the paperback version of the book that I have here, and you can actually get a hard copy of the book. So
So, do
Yeah.
we have any more books coming in in the near future?
Um, not right now. It's not. I don't really know because my process is different. I know people who write books and they have 100 books in them, and they, have them already outlined and mapped. Um, my process isn't like that. Um, I think about like I was never my second book that I thought about was not supposed to be about grief. It was um really, I don't know what it was supposed to be. I had, sat around and outlined something. I didn't know when I was even going to uh get to the point where I was going to write a second book. But, you know, I, at this point in life, I don't know what blessings may come out of all the things that I'm doing. A third book might be on the horizon, but right now I just got the two.
Okay. So, with that, what else you want to let people know?
As far as what?
Just with your books when it comes to grieving, because it seems like they both are connected with each other. Because
Well,
it's like once you get grieving, now you have those affirmations that can pick you back up again.
I mean, I guess you could see it that way. They were never intended to be like a combo pack. My thing is just helping people jumpstart that process of healing. Like I know a lot of times there's a stigma around getting therapy and getting help or talking to
Mm.
people about, their mental health and what they're going through and stuff like that. I realized that, a lot of times, back in the day when people would be like, "Oh, she's just crazy." No, she's not crazy. What she's feeling is real.
Something.
Um, Now, I think we're in a period in time where people can actually put words to the things that they were going through and the way that they were feeling and step out there and actually get some help and learn how to process through that. A lot of people don't know how to process through their grief. They don't even know that there are 5 stages of grief. They don't even know that, if you're sitting around angry, anger is actually a stage of grief. Depression is a stage of grief. Being able to accept the fact that your loved one is no longer here is also a stage of grief. Being in denial is a stage of grief. Bargaining, which sounds crazy to a lot of people, but when you're going through the grieving process, you do try to barter maybe with God or with somebody else to get a different outcome. Um, in reality, that's
Not
not
even
something that's not even possible. So, yeah, my book was definitely the second book was definitely um, written to help people jumpstart their healing process because I actually had to what I call feeling all the feels. I had to sit in my grief, and even in writing the stories, you'll be able to see like I wasn't in the right state of mind during a lot of those situations, and
right.
you actually get to read about my relationship with my grandmother. Like the whole book isn't like sad. I think that some people may think like, oh, somebody writing a book about grief is sad. No, it's a lot of happy stories in there, especially with my cousin Jan or with my friend Nika or my cousin Coach Bird or even with my dad. Like there's not a lot of sad stories in there, but then there's a kind of some stuff in there. It's like, whoa, that's kind of drama filled or something like that. So it'll take you through a little, what I want to call an emotional roller coaster,
Hmm.
feeling all the feels, because that's where I was at. I had to sit in my grief. I had to sit in my heartbreak. I sat in my pain and basically poured my heart out in that book.
Most definitely. You sure did. I seen that whole process. I just want to say that I am super proud of you, sister, and all your accomplishments and everything it is that you are doing. So, what is your sip note? Your sip note for the people today?
My sib note would be um, grieving isn't easy and healing hurts. Um, if you need something to jumpstart your healing process, I would suggest that you grab my book, Love You More, off of Amazon. It is on Amazon Prime. It's Love You More, Grieving Isn't Easy and Healing Hurts. Grab my daily affirmation book. It's All My Broken Crayons Still Colored. A daily affirmation book for healing the soul. If reading isn't your thing, find somebody to talk to. Find somebody to work through your grief. Find somebody to work through the feels. Find somebody to help you jumpstart your process of healing. And I know it's kind of taboo right now, and everybody's talking about mental health and healing and this and this and that. But the truth of the matter is that healing hurts. Like it's a growing pain. It's one of those things that when you have childhood traumas and family trauma and relationship trauma, and you got trauma bonds with people that you meet in your life and you think you love and they think they love you back. Because I even went through a process, like I was so hurt, and uh my heart was just on the outside of my body. When I lost my friend of 25 years, I went through a process of trying to create a scenario in my mind to make me feel as if this person didn't love me in real life, so that I didn't have to deal with the way that I was feeling.
Right.
So, um, I would just say love, like the title of the book say, love you more. I know a lot of us have people that depend on us to be 100 all the time. Because if we're not good, then our family not good. We got 150 people depending on us and pulling us every which way. My my suggestion would be to make sure you love you more, because you can't pour from an empty cup, and you don't want to be in a situation like I was in, where um you're walking around thinking that you're okay and God has to sit you down
Mm.
because you aren't dealing with your own stuff. You can help fix everybody else's stuff, but you'll never be. What are you going to do if you break? Like people always say, well, I bend, but I didn't break. But what happens if you break? Like mental breakdowns are absolutely real. Like
Mostly.
people be stressed beyond stressed, and you keep sweeping stuff under the rug and sweeping stuff under the rug till they pile up.
You're gonna blow your top.
You gonna have to clean that dirt up. So I'm not a sweep stuff under the rug type of person. I believe on dealing with stuff head on. um Yeah, grieving isn't easy and healing hurts. And also, people think that grief is only associated with somebody that passes away. People grieve from a lot of things. People grieve from breakups and relationships and friendships that are no longer um, healthy, or, things happen and you outgrow people. So, my sip note of the day would definitely be love you more. And you guys can always drop us a sip note about grief or something that you're going through um, at Regina Kids Podcast on gmail.com. So, yeah, that's my sip note of the day. What about you?
My sip note is it's okay not to be okay. because once you don't have any distractions and you got to just sit in it and deal with yourself, it's okay not to be okay, and to, as she would say, feel all the feels. Because,
Yeah, feel all the feels.
huh?
I said definitely feel all the feels.
Yeah, because getting all of that emotion out and understanding that you're not okay in that moment is one of the first steps in the healing process, because you're recognizing your hurt, you're recognizing where you are mentally, you're recognizing how your soul is feeling. So it's okay not to be okay, and to let the ones around you know, like, look, I'm not okay, I'm dealing with this shit, I need time for me. So that's my sip note of the day.
Nothing wrong with a little me time.
Mm.
But we thank you guys again for joining us on the Regina Kids podcast. And as always, continue to glow through
Whatever
whatever it is you're going
you
through.
do.
And thank you guys again.
Bye.